Your Excellencies, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkey, Mr. Mevlüt Çavuşoğlu, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Romania, Bogdan Aurescu, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends online at the same time. Allow me to open the conference celebrating 10 years since the signature of the strategic partnership between Romania and Turkey. This quantifies actually excellent bilateral relation for a long-term partnership which begins with the support of Turkey for Romania's accession to NATO. Our strategic partnership actually covers the three tracks that we build up, meaning security, defense, and for sure in-depth consultation in foreign affairs, economy, trade, investments and energy, academia, research, people-to-people tourism. We are also developing our relations based on a very vivid and loyal Turkish and Tatar minority in Romania, and the presence of a number of Romanian citizens who are working in Turkey. We also develop niches in education where Turkish young people take courses in Romanian university and vice versa, as well as our fellow Romanians who are using the clinics in Istanbul, for instance, and Ankara for specific health problems. Now, the basis of our strategic partnership has an importance on the good relations with us, between us as allies in NATO, and we are also trying to make them count for the Turkish relations with the European Union. As one of the persons part of this achievement and present at the signature of the strategic partnership 10 years ago, allow me to moderate this ministerial panel and also to begin by giving the floor to His Excellency Bogdan Aurescu, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Romania. Minister.
Thank you so much, Iulian, for putting together this very special event, for moderating this very important moment. Your Excellency, Minister Çavuşoğlu, dear Mevlüt, my friend, welcome to Bucharest once again. Minister Comonescu, Minister Diaconescu, Madam Ambassador, Mr. Ambassador, distinguished guests, it is a great pleasure to be here and host my colleague and friend, Minister Çavuşoğlu, in person in Bucharest for a very substantial and meaningful agenda. We will hold consultations in the trilateral format on security issues together with Poland, where for the first time we will be also joined by our partners Ukraine and Georgia. I already had very substantial bilateral political consultations with Minister Çavuşoğlu. 10 years ago, Romania and Turkey decided to raise their bilateral relation to the level of strategic partnership. It was a decision taken at the highest level in recognition of the strength and depth of our relation, the quality of our dialogue, and above all, the high potential of our economies. During our consultations today, we have discussed these essential aspects. Looking back at the 2011 declaration, the various dimensions of our relationship remain as valid today as they were in 2011, although a lot has changed since we established our strategic partnership. At the same time, we are happy to see that these dimensions have grown and extended over time. The basic tenets on which our commitment was laid at the time stay the same. We are strong partners. And this framework enhances our cooperation, allowing us to reflect together towards our strategic priorities of action in Central, Eastern, and Southeastern Europe. We agreed today during our discussion to continue our commitment to deepen the strategic dialogue. I can only say that this is a natural evolution in our relation. And we also agreed during our consultations we held earlier to deepen our coordination aimed at further strengthening NATO by spearheading joint projects and initiatives on the eastern flank, at increasing our solidarity as allies, as well as supporting the capacity building and aspirations of our partners. Turkey is an important NATO ally on matters related to the Black Sea, and during our bilateral meeting today we also touched upon these important aspects. As riparian states to the Black Sea, we have a common interest in ensuring a safe, peaceful and stable region, which has a direct impact on the Euro-Atlantic security. In this regard, we support increasing our cooperation and coordination on how we can best approach the regional challenges. I am certain that the only way forward would be to reinforce NATO's deterrence and defense posture along the eastern flank, from the Baltic to the Black Sea, and this should continue to be an important element of our cooperation. I conveyed Romania's gratitude and appreciation to Minister Çavuşoğlu for Turkey's concrete contributions to the NATO's forward presence in Romania, confirming and strengthening the bilateral strategic partnership and contributing substantially to the regional security. Distinguished audience, friendship and dialogue define our relationship, and gradually this contributed to strengthening our cooperation. To this day, Turkey is one of the most important economic partners of Romania. Despite the pandemic in 2020, we had almost $6.4 billion bilateral trade. Romania hosts a sizable and dynamic community of Turkish entrepreneurs and investors. Over 16,000 Turkish companies conduct successful businesses and share an optimistic outlook on the economic cooperation. The Turkish investments in Romania amount to 4 to 6, even 7, as Minister Çavuşoğlu told me today, billion euros. As a matter of fact, we also discussed today how to further encourage the business-to-business links and contacts. For instance, we have agreed to step up our efforts for organizing the next sessions of the Joint Intergovernmental Commission for Economic and Technical Cooperation and of the Joint Economic and Trade Commission. We also appreciate the constant support of Turkey for the candidature of Romania to the OECD, and I congratulated Turkey for the recent inauguration of the regional OECD Center in Istanbul. Sectorial cooperation expanded over the past 10 years with active involvement of our respective institutions. Areas like internal affairs, education are examples of good practice in this respect. Let me also praise, at my turn, the human dimension, which is a fundamental pillar of our relation. The Turkish Tatar minority in Romania represents an important bridge connecting our states, but also a landmark of social and cultural integration and peaceful, mutually enriching coexistence in our country. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, at European level, Romania has always been an active supporter of a strong and dynamic, positive EU-Turkey relation, stemming from the fact that Turkey is a key partner and a candidate state to EU accession. On this basis, I told my counterpart today that we firmly believe that a solid EU-Turkey relation is in the strategic interest of all sides and in the interest of a stronger cooperation on important European dossiers. This partnership remains, as we already discussed today, an important reference point for both EU and Turkey, including for an efficient management of common challenges such as tackling illegal migration, the fight against terrorism, security and defense matters, energy security, to mention just a few of the fields in which the EU-Turkey cooperation brings substantive added value. We welcome the fact that recently the EU-Turkey relation has resumed a positive track, based on the forward-looking, constructive agenda agreed by our EU leaders in March. Based on this agreed path, we hope that positive evolutions will continue. With regard to further strengthening economic ties, resuming high-level dialogue on current issues of high importance like climate change, public health, or improving mobility and people-to-people contacts in order to bring our societies closer together. Dear friends, to this day, regional cooperation remains an important pillar of our partnership. It is a projection of our interests and an expression of our desire to find common ground. Working to ensure regional prosperity and stability keeps Romania and Turkey close in two important regional organizations, the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization and the Southeast European Cooperation Process, a CECP. As partners in the region, we share a common vision oriented towards regionally coordinated approaches and finding solutions based on a win-win approach. On a personal note, I confess that as a young diplomat, I have participated in the intense sessions of negotiations which laid the legal foundations of the intergovernmental economic cooperation in BISEC. And I have so a personal affinity for this organization. Romania has always been a strong advocate for increased interaction between BISEC and the European Union, for objective, pragmatic reasons, trade and investment. These are strong incentives for an enhanced relationship between BISEC and the EU. And I would like to emphasize one particular point which is of great value to us, namely the election of a new Secretary General in the person of a distinguished Romanian diplomat, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, and an excellent friend of mine, Ambassador Laza Comănescu, who is here with us today. I take this opportunity to thank once more Turkey for its support for the Romanian candidature. I'm sure Ambassador Comănescu will have a strong backing in fulfilling his future tasks, among which the interaction with the EU will rank first. Turning now to the Southeast European cooperation process, chaired by Ankara for 2020-2021, SECP unites today the entire Southeast Europe. SECP stands as a platform for dialogue that is focused on facilitating the rapprochement of all its participants to the European Union. For the concrete European perspective of a region to become reality, inclusive regional cooperation embodied in CCP is the key political instrument which could fuel the much-needed unitary action from our region. I have the firm conviction that this attitude will consolidate regional ownership and will relay the clear message of commitment for reconciliation and progress. And we are convinced that the Ankara chairmanship will spare no effort in advancing the dialogue with the EU. Distinguished guests, we are living in a turbulent international environment where regional and global connections are tested. Migration is one of these challenges, and we must appreciate Turkey for its consistent effort of hosting and supporting the lives of millions of migrants. At the same time, the current pandemic tested our capacity for solidarity and commitment to maintain the connections between our societies and economies open. And I would like to thank Turkey and personally Minister Çavuşoğlu for the support extended to Romania during the pandemic last year. In the world after the pandemic, we need to work to strengthen the resilience, the multilateralism, and the rules-based international order. Romania and Turkey can work together to face these challenges. As neighbors, friends, and strong partners, Romania and Turkey can and should use their strategic partnership to channel their own views and solutions on how to master the challenges of the future. Dear Minister, dear Mevlüt, today we are here with a clear determination to continue our partnership and to extend its strategic dimension. Throughout modern times, we have been good friends, good neighbors, who always knew how to support each other. Let this be the path for the next decade and more of our strategic partnership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Minister Aurescu. Your Excellency, Mr. Çavuşoğlu, Minister Çavuşoğlu, we are very happy that you succeed attending our conference here in the hall of the Central University Library. Allow me to offer the floor, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Kifu. Dear Minister Aurescu, my dear friend Bogdan, ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be in Bucharest once again. And indeed, I am honored to open this important event marking the 10th anniversary of Turkey-Romanian strategic partnership. Let me thank Conflict Prevention and Early Warning Center and its Turkish counterpart, SETA, for organizing this gathering. Historically, Romania has always had an important place in Turkey's foreign policy. The Balkan Entente, led by the Turkish and Romanian foreign ministers, Tevfik Rüştü Aras and Nicolae Titulescu, was a good example of modern-day regional ownership back in 1934. The same approach is alive today with the Southeast European cooperation and the Black Sea economic cooperation processes, like my dear friend Bogdan mentioned. And today, Turkey and Romania share a common understanding of regional security. First, achieving peace and stability from Southeast Europe to Caucasus and beyond. This is our shared goal. We are among the main providers of peace in Southeast Europe and the Black Sea Basin. And we have strong cooperation in the regional platforms. I just mentioned the BSEC and the CECP. And on this occasion, let me also congratulate my dear friend, former Minister, Ambassador Lazar Comenescu, for his election as the new Secretary General of BSEC. And I'm sure that he will bring new energy into our organization, and you can count on Turkey's support and my personal support. Second, we increase our solidarity under NATO's umbrella. Time has proven how justified Turkey's stance was in supporting Romania's NATO candidacy. Third, we extended our cooperation to a trilateral format with our friend and ally, Poland. And Turkey, Poland, Romania-Poland trilateral consultation mechanism has become a solid platform. And we will hold the seventh round of the talks tomorrow here in Bucharest. And we will discuss various aspects of transatlantic security. We will cover the north-south axis stretching from the Baltics to Black Sea. Dear Bogdan, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, Atatürk's cordial words to Romanian Foreign Minister Antonescu in 1937 continue to guide us today, and I quote, "We wholeheartedly wish to see the strength of Romania further grow each day. Our friendship is so solid and reliable that we deem ourselves even stronger with an ever stronger Romania. Feelings bind nations more than treaties. Romania has its fraternal place in our heart." End of quote. Today, our relations are at an exceptional level, and Bogdan gave some examples. Let me also repeat some of them. Romania is our largest trading partner in the Balkans, and almost $6.6 billion we reach, and the goal of $10 billion of trade volume is within reach. And Turkey is among the top foreign investors in Romania, Bogdan also mentioned us, and there are more than 15,000 Turkish companies registered here, and their total investments are more than $7 billion. The difference between your figures and our figures, there are Turkish companies in the Netherlands, in Germany, and some other part of Europe, and they do come and invest here in Romania. It means Romania is presenting a lot of opportunities for Turkish and other international companies. And we have strong people-to-people contacts. The fact that Turkey is among the top tourism destinations for Romanians is not a coincidence. And the Turkish Tatar community's centuries-old presence in Romania has formed a strong bond between our countries and nations. And the Dobruja model for minorities is exemplary. I'm not saying this first time, and I emphasize this when I visited Romania as the president of the Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe around 10 years ago. I think it was beginning of 2011. And I reported back to the Parliamentary Assembly after that visit. And Turkish Tatar minority demonstrates a great example of integration, and we are happy to see them as proud citizens of Romania while preserving their identity. And 10 years ago, we became strategic partners. Here, I should also acknowledge Bogdan and Professor Kifu for their contributions to start of this partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, today as challenges to the international system grow, some argue that each nation should strive itself. Our strategic partnership proves them wrong. It can provide an inspiration to all friendly nations around us to proceed with deeper and bolder cooperation. Standing together, stronger together is our common message to our region and beyond. So long live Turkey, Turkish-Romanian strategic partnership. And thank you very much for this opportunity. Vă mulțumesc. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Çavuşoğlu. Thank you for your expose. Thank you for getting here and also appreciating our strategic partnership the way that you are doing. We are very, very happy and welcoming all your demarches in that direction. If you allow, I will take 2 questions, and I think that Minister Meleșcanu should be online. He asked for the first question. Can we have Professor Meleșcanu via VTC? Yes? If not, I will... yes? We have... Please, Ambassador Meleșcanu, Minister Meleșcanu, Professor Meleșcanu, please, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much,
not,
Your Excellency, Foreign Minister of Turkey, and dear Mevlüt. I followed with interest the official statements about the existence of natural gas resources in the Black Sea. As strategic partners, Turkey and Romania are both interested in exploring and exploiting these resources. Could we have in mind a common approach and economic cooperation on this issue, including the assurance of the security for the exploitation of these resources? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Tudor, thank you very much for your question, and very good to see you again, even though it's virtual. And thank you very much for joining us today. And with regards to these hydrocarbon resources that we discover in the Black Sea, we see energy sources as an area of cooperation, not only in Black Sea, but also in Eastern Mediterranean. You know, I also attended a VTC forum or conference or meeting with the Foreign Affairs Committee of European Parliament, and you also intervened. And that's why we propose a conference, multilateral conference on Eastern Mediterranean, that everybody should participate. Not only Eastern Mediterranean, but all the littoral states and the countries that have companies in the Eastern Mediterranean. And in the Black Sea region, it's good that we have a multilateral agreement on the delimitation, maritime boundaries, I mean. And now the littoral states have their own activities, seismic research, drilling activities, and fortunately we discovered one of the biggest reserves in the world in recent years. So Romania is also conducting its own activities, and we are ready to cooperate with the neighboring countries and the international as well as international companies. Turkey already became a transit country or hub for energy, be it in oil or gas, and we have realized so many projects. In addition to Turkish Stream, now we recently finalized TANAP, and the TANAP project was recently also is about to be interconnected to TAP, Trans-Adriatic projects, and Southern Corridor projects, and the other projects coming from Iraq, Iran, and also from Caucasus. So Turkey already became a hub and transit country, and Turkey is ready to share all these energy resources with its neighbors, I mean the countries in need as well. And we have been consulting this with many countries, particularly in Eastern Europe and Balkans. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. Next question, yes, Nacis Bălășoiu.
Hello,
Please.
I have a brief question for Minister Aurescu. Minister, how do you see that bilateral strategic relation between Turkey and Romania can somehow revitalize the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Forum? And of course, I'm addressing this context also in the appointment of Minister Lazar Comănescu. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for this question. We have discussed about our bilateral economic cooperation, and I think as it was, I think, very obvious from both our presentations that the potential is huge. If even during the pandemic we managed to have $6.4 billion trade, this means that indeed we can go much further and reach that target that our leaders fixed a couple of years ago, $10 billion. But this is between us, and of course, between us, we can do a lot of things because we are the masters of the game. And from this perspective, I think that having this year the sessions of the two joint economic commissions, seeing which are the other opportunities in various areas. We have discussed, for instance, today about enhancing our cooperation in the field of defense industry. We have also a great potential for cooperation in the field of energy, various types of energy. But we have also to explore other fields like IT, cyber, and many other areas. We can, of course, together try to reach out to third markets. Turkey has a great potential opening towards well, Middle East and many other regions. Together we can reach out to Central Asia. But at the same time, we have to take a good look at the prospects for more cooperation in the field of economy in the Black Sea area. And indeed, having Ambassador Comănescu there, who has well, a great knowledge in economic affairs, I think it's a great opportunity. And if we take a look at the prospects of cooperation from the perspective of BSEC-EU relationship, I have just mentioned trade and investment as being two well, areas where this cooperation can bring added value. We can also well, take a look at the possibilities and opportunities which are coming from two important frameworks that we have well, adopted during the Romanian presidency of the Council of the European Union, the Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea and the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. These are two frameworks which are absolutely non-controversial. They are beyond any kind of political or military well, biased approach. Everybody in the Black Sea supports these frameworks. We can use them, and let's use them. And I think BSEC has the duty to become more pragmatically oriented, and this is part of the mandate of Ambassador Comănescu, as it was presented during the process of election. So Romania and Turkey, as founding members of BSEC, can and should work more to contribute to a substantial economic agenda in the Black Sea, along with reforming the institutional frameworks of cooperation if needed. So I do think that our strategic partnership can bring added value also within BSEC to promote awareness, to promote projects, serving communities across the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. And since Minister Comănescu has been already invoked several times, allow me to invite him also for a comment, a question. Or
well, I was about to raise a question related to the perspective of relationship between the BSEC and the European Union, but I think that Minister Aurescu, I mean, guessed what I was about to ask, and I thank him for giving the answer. But let me nevertheless take advantage of being here and having the honor to be here with two great friends of mine, Minister Çavuşoğlu and Minister Aurescu. first of all, to thank them for the very kind words. That is, to me, in connection with what would become a new phase in my professional activity, starting from July 1st. And, well, listening to you and to what I have been listening to yesterday, there was a panel in a trilateral format organized by the New Strategy Center here in Bucharest, SIPA, and the Warsaw Institute. And one of the panelists, in one of the panels, the Turkish one, was referring to an aspect which I really very much value, and I would like to hear from Minister Çavuşoğlu his opinion on that. That panelist was referring to the need of looking into the cooperation in the Black Sea region in connection with countries in Central Asia. And the countries in Turkish, well, Turkic countries in Central Asia.
Right.
Minister, what I would like to hear from you is how would you see a role by the BISEC institution as an institution in contributing to this a more active relationship between the Black Sea countries and the countries in the east of them? Since we have the Caucasus countries, Azerbaijan is a member, just across the Caspian we have Central Asian countries, and I do see prospects there for a closer relationship, including and especially in areas like energy. So I would very much like to hear from you what could be done in this respect, and I may allow myself to, even from now, say that I would very much like to continue this dialogue once on this type of issues, once I will be in Istanbul. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Once again, very good to see you, my dear friend. And Turkey Council is becoming a more and more relevant and visible and effective regional organization. And we are planning to change the name of the organization. It will be Organization of Turkic State. And this decision will be taken at the official summit, possibly on 12th of November in Turkey. Recently, we held informal VTC summit hosted by Kazakhstan. And then it's also growing. Recently, Uzbekistan became member, and Hungary became observer member of this organization. And there is a huge interest to Turkic Council. And now we are trying to set the criteria for status, observer or any other possible status that we can provide for different organizations and different countries. And now there is an opportunity for the stability and welfare and the peace in Caucasus after Azerbaijan took back its own territories after 30 years occupation. And it's good that Armenia and Azerbaijan are working on transport projects, connectivity, railways, roads, and other type of projects, as well as energy corridors. And Turkey is supporting this, so it will be a big opportunity. Meanwhile, unfortunately, the interest to BSEC from member states has been going down. And we had difficulties to convince the member states to assume the presidency even. So we found a formula that secretariat-supported presidency is a temporary solution to my mind. But we should find a way to increase this interest and support from the member states to the organization. To do so, I hope with your leadership, and we will support you, as I said in my opening remarks, we can re-energize this organization. We can make it more relevant, more effective. It's a good platform, by the way. If you look at the member states or the issues between the member states, you know, between Turkey and Armenia, Azerbaijan, and also Ukraine and Russia and some other countries as well. Despite all differences, this organization, BSEC, actually has been the one that uniting all of us around, including the election of the Secretary General, I mean yourself, during the election. So what I am trying to say that if we can actually re-energize this organization, if we can make it more relevant and more visible and effective, we can enhance much better cooperation between BSEC and Turkish Council. So as Turkey, we will support your efforts to that end as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you. I will invite Bogdan Nicolae for a question, and we also have...
Thank you very much. I'm Bogdan Nicolae. I'm representing the Defense and Security Monitor, MediaFax Publishing. This is a great opportunity to have you both today, and I have two questions. I have strategically split them in two. But I would first like to start with His Excellency Minister Aurescu. Both countries have been hit by this coronavirus, pretty much. And my interest would be whether you have discussed or plan to discuss the ease of travel between the tourists and the business people from the two countries, whether this is part of the strategic partnership or not. We would like to see whether in the next couple of weeks or months, having in mind that a lot of people used to travel to Turkey for their summer holiday. And if there is a agreement to accept a form of cooperation in recognizing the vaccination thing. That would be first question. And for Your Excellency, Mr. Çavuşoğlu, of course, from the Balkans to the Caucasus, there are a lot of security issues to discuss. But I would like to refer to the recent non-paper that we were told about, a non-paper regarding the potential instability in the Balkans. Probably you have heard about the Slovenian news about the splitting of Bosnia and Herzegovina, another redrawing of the borders here in the region. I know Turkey has been doing a lot of good efforts in stabilizing Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I would like to hear your comment on that, if possible. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the question. We did not discuss about this issue. We had many other important and very hot topics on our agenda. But of course, it doesn't well mean that we cannot discuss this. It is mainly an issue related to the competence of the ministries of tourism from the two countries, I think, and perhaps they will be able to tackle this issue. As far as the second question is concerned, well, everybody knows that that piece of information was a misinformation, in fact. And let me very shortly but very firmly state the Romanian position as far as such kind of issues. Any kind of change of borders in the Balkans is totally not well suitable and unacceptable. This would bring the region into chaos. And that's it. We cannot and will not support any kind of such thinking, even if it is, well, true or false, as far as the news, the piece of news is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First, on tourism. Yes, coronavirus is a common challenge, and we have been fighting the virus all together. And at the beginning, we did also our best to support Romania in its fight. Now vaccination is priority for all of us. While we are taking some measures, restrictive measures, we do understand that our people want to travel. So Turkey developed a safe tourism concept last year, and certification is, is the basis of this concept. And we are certifying all the facilities, not only the hotels and restaurants, but the airports and the transportation and all the facilities that tourists are using during their visit to Turkey. And last year we had a good agreement and cooperation with Germany, and so many German tourists came to Turkey, and now many other countries want to actually learn this cooperation and safe tourism concept of Turkey. And the World Tourism Organization is also promoting this. What I am trying to say that we are ready to have same or similar cooperation with Romania, so Romanian friends can spend their holidays, not only my hometown, Antalya. My president is angry with me from time to time that he believes that I promote only my hometown, Antalya, but I do promote Istanbul and Black Sea as well, I mean entire Turkey. So they can spend their holidays in a safe environment. This includes, it has many aspects, including the PCR test and so on and so on. We are ready to share this with Romania as well. And with regards to your question, second half of the question, and it was denied, but in principle, we are against this kind of scenarios, unacceptable, outrageous, whether it's true or not. I'm not here to blame Slovenia because they denied. Instead of splitting the countries or nations, we should find a way to resolve all the outstanding issues within the countries and also between the Balkan countries. We have excellent relations with all the Western Balkan countries, and it has been an advantage actually for us. We are trying to do our best to mediate between Kosovo and Serbia, since we have excellent relations both sides, and also between Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. And now we have, connectivity is so important, and we are realizing the highways and the rings between Serbia and Sarajevo. And within Bosnia and Herzegovina, we have excellent relations with all of them. All these constitute people and their representatives. They have presidential council. And recently, now Dodik is chairing in a rotation base. And they came to Ankara, and we had excellent relations, and with the Serbs, Croats, and Bosniaks, and the others as well. So we are supporting country in many means, including vaccine, providing vaccine. We will continue this kind of efforts, and we don't see Balkans as an area of competition for different countries or actors. From time to time it is becoming, and therefore we are ready to cooperate with European Union and the other Balkan countries and the Western countries to support the Balkan countries. Meanwhile, of course, they shouldn't lose their Euro-Atlantic integration ambitions or bids. Unfortunately, EU has not given a date to start negotiations to North Macedonia and Albania yet. I know Romania's position, very positive. Therefore, such kind of encouragement is also really needed in Western countries. Instead of split and those kind of scenarios, we should discuss how to support these Western Balkan countries or the relations between different countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ministers. Thank you. We also had another question from Zafer Meshe, but unfortunately our time is short. So thank you very much for attending our panel. Thank you for your insight related to the bilateral relations, to your positions in the Black Sea, in the Western Balkans. Once again, thank you very much, Your Excellencies, ministers. I think that we are going to have a coffee break for the panel till the ministers are going to leave. Thank you very much. Let's applaud.
Okay. We're good to go, hopefully technically also. Allow me, first of all, to welcome our guests, starting with our panel members here and via VTC. Also welcome our very few guests from the audience, and of course all our friends, colleagues, and guests that are joining us through the live streaming, thanks to our colleagues from the MFA and also from our media partners, Calea Europeană, European Path. I also have to acknowledge the support that we have received in organizing this event, mainly GMF, Bucharest office, also our friends from SETA Foundation, Turkey, and also Diplomatic Institute from Romania. Today's event, called 10 years anniversary of Romania and Turkey strategic partners, has, of course, certain significance for the two countries, and it's also a suitable moment to look at the balance sheet, to reflect on what we have achieved and what we have could done better. But beside the mutual interest and implication of the two countries, I would say that Romania and Turkey strategic partnership is also of interest for other actors, single or collective actors. And I would dare saying that our strategic partnership is way more important in this extremely tense and complicated regional context. It's not only about bilateral relation, but it's about two important NATO members bordering the Black Sea in time of extreme volatility. This is why I think that Brussels, for example, is interesting to see our relation growing stronger and thus consolidating the two countries' posture that is one of stability pillars in the region. If you read the EU Commission documents addressing relation with Turkey, you'll find fragments excerpts like this one. Turkey is a key strategic partner of the EU on issues such as economy, migration, security, or counterterrorism. Also, in a recent event at the EU Council level, you could hear that, and I quote, EU has a strategic interest in the development of a cooperative and mutually beneficial relationship with Turkey. So, I would say that there is no doubt that not only Romania, but at the European Union level, the importance of consolidating relations with Turkey is beyond any doubt or ambiguity. However, there are several issues that we have to admit that obstruct or prevent, so to speak, that the EU-Turkey relation meets its full potential. And currently, if you would like to describe the Turkey-EU relation, I use the fragment that a friend of mine suggested to me, that the best way to describe this relation, it would be the Facebook status called "It's Complicated." Well, I am sure that some of the issues will be addressed today by our distinguished panelists. Well, since my capacity today is that of a moderator, I will refrain myself from further comments. I will introduce the panelists. First of all, allow me to welcome Iulia Matei, State Secretary for European Affairs, Romanian MFA, Ambassador Başak Turkoglu, Director General for the Relation with the EU, Directorate of EU Affairs, that is joining us via VTC today. Welcome, madam. Also, Minister Cristian Diaconescu, former Minister of Foreign Affairs and also President of the Center for Foreign Relations. And our panels end with our friend and coordinator of the SETA Foundation for Economic, Political and Social Research from the office of Brussels. So without further ado, I would give the floor to State Secretary Iulia Matei. Just one mention, please stay inside 10 minutes, maybe lower, in order to have at the end roughly 15 to 20 minutes of a Q&A session. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I'll do my best. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so pleased to take part in this event and to put this conference in the framework of our strategic partnership with Turkey. I am glad to see between this distinguished audience and to take part to this panel with Minister Diaconescu and to welcome our Turkish friends even via VTC from this panel and to of course underline how important it is to continue discussing not only about the Romania-Turkey's bilateral relations, which we did in the previous panel, but also to extend this discussion in a much more wider context when it comes to the EU-Turkey relations. And for this reason, I will dare say that it's quite a timely discussion if we are referring to the previous year, to 2020, which was definitely, as we all saw, a very challenging and complex year from the point of view of the EU-Turkey relations. Now, view the recent developments, view also the European Council in March, and the political declaration of the leaders, it seems like that we do have a renewed window of opportunity and the potential for the EU-Turkey relations. And it is indeed a momentum, a fragile one, but a positive one. And depending on the involvement of both sides and on the full commitment of the Turkish friends, I think that we can definitely build
Sorry,
upon
but
this.
I can't hear anything.
As far as Romania is concerned, I would say from the outcome that it is our long-standing position in supporting a strong EU-Turkey relation, Turkey being a key partner for Romania and for the EU as well. And from this point of view, as I was saying, it is a long-standing positioning, and here I think that we do have all recent memories, even from the Romania's Council presidency from 2019, when we saw and we witnessed that Turkey participated in all the events where we associated the candidate countries here in Bucharest, in the margins of our big political events, and then where we succeeded in Brussels to gather the consensus for resuming, after a 4-year break, the Association Council with Turkey. And so to say, it's important to underline that in our view, it's important to maintain as to the possible extent the channels of communication with Turkey open, and to advocate for preserving the dialogue as a fruitful instrument in solving things and in bringing things together and in trying to bring constructive solutions to the difficulties arising from the EU-Turkey relations. And from this point of view, coming back to the recent positive signs in desescalation steps in the Eastern Mediterranean, we saw that the leaders in the European Council in March decided to re-engage with Turkey, providing, of course, that the recent desescalation process is a sustained one. And this re-engagement with Turkey, I will try to call from memory, must be a phased and proportional one. Phased and proportional one, that, of course, this means a gradual process, as I was saying, in order to make sure that we will build upon the positive developments from both sides, especially from the constructive commitment of Turkey. And moreover, the decision was also, in a sense, enhancing more the cooperation in some specific areas with Turkey, fields of cooperation where we both, on both sides, recognize that coping together the challenges in the region, it's in our double benefit. And furthermore, the European Council is saying in its political statement, and here I will quote, that the sustainability of this positive course of action and pursuing the constructive engagement will be the basis for pursuing on this positive track of cooperation. So, European Union also recalling this strategic interest in a stable and secure environment in the Eastern Mediterranean in the development of cooperatively and mutually beneficial relation with Turkey, thus opening actually the perspective for resuming the EU-Turkey cooperation through a gradual positive agenda, like I was saying previously. Now, what we can expect from now on, definitely to see that this positive agenda would be translated into practice on a sustainable and constructive steps on both sides. And here, of course, we are strongly encouraging our Turkish friends to uphold such a mutual beneficial approach. Then we saw that there were a series of meetings in Ankara and in Brussels, high-level meetings, where the EU part had once more an occasion to reconfirm the EU's expectations from Turkey, as well as it was a good opportunity, and those parties seized this opportunity in order to have in-depth discussions about the areas where the European Union and Turkey would benefit from an enhanced cooperation. And I will just mention some of those important aspects, which I think you are already aware of, but just to have a broader image on those fields in terms of what we have to capitalize upon from now on till the European Council in June, where we will resume this discussion at the EU level, to say that those fields are, of course, first and foremost, economy and trade. Well, it's of no surprise for no one, I think, why the economy and trade are so important. It's because the EU is by far the Turkey's #1 counterpart for import and export partner, as well as a source of investments. Then bilateral trade in goods is about 132.5 billion in 2020. Then almost a third of the Turkish imports come from the EU, and approximately 41 of the Turkish exports and goods go to the EU. From this point of view, in this vein, of course, strengthening our economy's ties and stimulating trade will be one of the most important areas where the cooperation should go on. Then we know that between the EU and Turkey, we have a unique framework of cooperation. We have the EU-Turkey Custom Union. Of course, there are still problems in implementing this custom union, but here again, and depending on the guidance that the European Council will provide on, the common wish is to start discussion in order to modernize these custom unions. Secondly, in terms of engaging more, the decision was to resume the high-level political meetings and the sectorial dialogue. And from this point of view, if the high-level meetings were already resumed, as we all saw in March. When it comes to the sectorial dialogue, here again, during the recent talks in Ankara, the leaders agreed to start with discussions on climate, health, and counterterrorism fields. Here again, I think that pointless to say that all those issues knows no border, and we really need to tackle them via a more extensive cooperation with Turkey as well. Climate is, of course, one of the top activities and top priorities at the EU level, not only through its own internal policies, but also promoted in the multilateral forums and in the bilateral cooperations with the third countries. And via this, we will reduce, via this ambitious demarches, actually, we can reduce the burden on the future generations ahead of us. So close cooperation with partners like Turkey in this regards, of course, will be instrumental. The same goes for the health cooperation, and the pandemics showed us how important it is to extend the cooperation not only within EU, but even from the wider perspective, involving the partners in the region and Turkey as well. And for the counterterrorism, I think that the arguments are obvious as well. A third field of cooperation is linked to the people-to-people mobility and people-to-people contacts. Here again, it's a good outcome of the discussions in our view, because we will continue cooperating with Turkey on some important European programs with clear benefits for younger people, for the societies. And here I think that the Erasmus program, the Horizon 2020 program, proved that this extended cooperation with Turkey was beneficial for both sides. Besides all those three areas of cooperation, I will also make a short point on migration and the cooperation, the good cooperation that we are having at the European level with Turkey. Of course, we are fully acknowledging the Turkey's efforts in hosting around 4 million Syrian refugees on its soil, and we will encourage, Romania will continue to encourage and to support the EU-Turkey's statement on migration. Here again, we had a recent this decision in the March European Council to contain this framework of cooperation, and I think that maintaining such a positive climate of confidence and mutual trust between the two parties is essential in order to have a good management of the migration flows. Then, well, trying to sum up my intervention, I will say that the task ahead of us, it's not easy, of course. But as I was saying, we've been agreeing to have this gradual and proportional approach. It is a momentum, it is a fragile momentum, but we will definitely have to continue working on this in order to make the relations between EU and Turkey stronger and much more functional than they are today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam State Secretary. It's okay. Before inviting to join our discussion, Madam Ambassador, just a short note for the guests that are joining us through the platform, through the WebEx platform. If they are having questions that want to address to our panelists, please send them in the Q&A section of the platform, and then we'll be choosing them, and you'll be live with us. You'll be switching to just a guest to a panelist, okay? So please send your question to this Q&A section in the platform. Now, it's my pleasure to invite Ambassador Başak Türkoğlu, which is joining us via VTC from Turkey. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well? Hello? Do you hear me?
We are hearing you now.
Okay, because I'm so sorry, I was not able to follow Madam State Secretary's address very well because the sound was so low. I just tried to understand, you know, in general, but I hope you can hear me well right now.
Okay. Thank you. You may proceed. We are hearing you. Okay.
It's really a pleasure to take part in this panel today with you. I followed the ministerial session, and it was really, it feels good to hear that Turkey and Romania enjoys excellent relations on bilateral platform. We are two good neighbors and reliable allies in NATO, and the backbone of our relations is strong cooperation. And we believe that any regional initiative couldn't have reached a successful point, couldn't have achieved success without the participation of Turkey and Romania. We supported Romania's integration in the Euro-Atlantic architecture from the very beginning. Now, Romania is a member of NATO and the EU. Both Turkey and Romania are members of Black Sea Economic Cooperation and Southeast Economic Cooperation process. I can say that in international fora, we have this cooperation and strong coordination. Plus, we enjoy excellent bilateral relationship, free from problems. Taking this opportunity, let me congratulate both the Romanian and Turkish side for leaving 10 successful years behind in terms of strategic partnership. As the Madam State Secretary and our ministers have emphasized, Romania is our biggest trade partner in the Balkans. The largest bilateral trade figure in the region is achieved among us, between us. And in light of this backdrop, I would also like to say that we appreciate the principled approach and the strong support of Romania extended to Turkey's EU bid as well. Especially Romania's EU presidency is worth mentioning here because we were invited to one of the ministerial meetings. It was, I think, environment and climate, about environment and climate topics. Our minister attended the Gimnik meeting in Romania, and I guess it was one of the last Gimnik meetings he attended to. We count on this strong support of Romania within the EU when it comes to Turkey-EU relations. Let me also reiterate that the EU accession process remains to be the strategic objective for Turkey. We aspire to maintain and develop our relations with the EU based on this perspective. But now we want to move after struggling a very difficult year in terms of our relations with the EU. Now we want to move to a positive agenda. We believe in the necessity of developing and implementing a positive agenda that will serve the interests of both sides and contribute to the stability of our region. EU Council conclusions of December 1st and 2nd, they provided a window of opportunity, to our opinion. Madam State Secretary mentioned about sustainable de-escalation, the importance of it. And I think we did our utmost for de-escalation, and we still do our best to render it sustainable. However, this is not a one-way street. It takes two to tango. To prevent provocative rhetoric or acts of certain EU member states is also important, and there the responsibility lies on the EU side as well, I guess. The EU Council conclusions of March 25th and 26th, they established a kind of conditionality for the positive agenda and postponed it until the June summit. Yet, we think that the momentum that has been achieved so far should not be lost. And we do not need to wait until the June summit. We can take some baby steps to realize or to lay the groundwork for the positive agenda. In this respect, the visit of EU leaders to Ankara on 6th of April was timely as we evaluated the outcome of the March summit. President Erdogan and presidents of the EU Council and Commission, they discussed the way forward. So we really want to start to work on a mutually agreed positive agenda. But this positive agenda, to our opinion, should be based on concrete and meaningful steps that will enhance the accession perspective of Turkey. And the best tool for creating such a positive agenda is revisiting the 18 March statement. In the media or in some circles, the 18 March statement is considered as only a migration cooperation deal, but in fact it is not. It's not the only item in this deal. We think that, we have to revisit the 18 March statement in its entirety and update according to the changing and challenging circumstances. What are the other dimensions apart from migration cooperation? First of all, this 18 March statement envisaged strengthening Turkey's EU perspective. When we say EU perspective, I do not expect the EU to open chapters for negotiations overnight, but the accession perspective should be kept open to Turkey. Unfortunately, we see a stark discrimination when it comes to Turkey. There is an artificial division created between Western Balkans and Turkey, which disregards our candidate status. So the EU should keep the Turkey's accession perspective open. The second dimension of 18 March statement is starting Turkey-EU customs union modernization process. We welcome the fact that modernization of the customs union has been included in the March Council conclusions. But we are expecting the Council to give the mandate to the Commission as soon as possible to start the negotiations, because those negotiations will take minimum 3 to 5 years, and we have to start from a certain point. We do not want to see any preconditions or any further delay to this process, because the need is there, it's obvious. And while the EU introduces some kind of conditionality to it, this is against the logic of the work, the work to be carried out. The sequencing, such as settling first the existing problems and then begin the modernization, is not the right method. Once we begin modernization of the customs union, the process itself will contribute to the process, to itself. It will constitute a platform to discuss how to settle the existing problems. Since it's an outdated mechanism, we have to face such trade irritants and problems, and in order to overcome those problems, we have to start the modernization process. Another dimension of 18 March deal was revitalizing Turkey-EU high-level dialogue and summits. And there again, I can say that in the conclusions, it talks about launching some high-level dialogue mechanisms on climate, terrorism, or regional issues. But we welcome those, of course. This is most welcome. Yet, this cannot be a substitute for the already established structural mechanisms. Because we had enjoyed for quite some time the high-level dialogue in areas of economy, trade, transport, energy, even it was envisaged to have another dialogue mechanism in agriculture area. But we had to relaunch those high-level mechanisms as well. But we welcome the proposal of the EU Council, of course, to launch new high-level dialogues in public health and climate or counter-terrorism. And I also would like to highlight the necessity to have those mechanisms in a period when the engagement is much needed, because it was, again, the decision of the EU Council in 2019 who put on hold all those high-level mechanisms, high-level dialogue mechanisms, including Association Council meetings. When we do not talk to each other, we talk about each other, either behind closed doors or via media. And this is not the healthiest way. So I think this is gist of the matter. As long as we have healthy dialogue mechanisms, there will be less misunderstanding and there won't be any lack of communication. Another dimension is encouraging visa liberalization for Turkish citizens. The latest wording in the Council conclusions of March, such as people-to-people contacts and mobility, is quite ambiguous for us. I mean, it's open to interpretation, and that might end up with visa facilitation rather than visa liberalization. We certainly would like to enhance people-to-people contact and mobility. However, visa liberalization remains our objective, and it's also EU's commitment to Turkey. And I should also draw attention to the fact that Turkey is the only candidate country that has not obtained visa liberalization yet. And having better cooperation in the management of irregular migration is one of the most important components of 18 March statement. And I think that Turkey has fulfilled her obligations. Illegal crossings significantly reduced in the last couple of years. Without our efforts, more than 2 million people would have reached the EU. So neither the EU nor Turkey are able to implement a zero migrant policy in this geography. So what we are asking from the EU is fair burden sharing and active cooperation. We expect the EU to honor its commitments. I mean, we had to come together in terms of migration cooperation and review the financial assistance, what is going to happen after FRIT mechanism. The voluntary humanitarian admission scheme has to be put into practice. We expect the EU to work with us in supporting safe, voluntary and dignified returns of Syrians. We expect the EU also to assist, to contribute to our assisted voluntary return program. We need to increase the border security in our eastern borders. And together with the EU, we have to address the root causes triggering migration in source countries, be it Syria or Afghanistan, and it needs close cooperation between Turkey and the EU. And of course, we expect the EU to end the illegal pushbacks on our western borders as well.
Madam Ambassador, if you can...
The last dimension of the 18 March deal is enhanced cooperation on our fight against terrorism. So we welcome the last EU conclusion, which also envisaged a high-level dialogue in terms of counter-terrorism. This is an important step, but we would like to see more cooperation, not only vis-à-vis PKK, Daesh, but also to FETÖ as well. So these are when we talk about the 18 March statement in its entirety, these are the dimensions of the 18 March statement. It's not only a migration deal, it has many other components which can further and enhance Turkey-EU relations. So, as I mentioned, we expect the EU, and especially the member countries like Romania, to encourage Greeks and Greek Cypriots not to abuse their veto right and their membership solidarity, but to be more constructive and to be engaged in dialogue and diplomacy as well. Because the alternative to this is, of course, confrontational relations, conflictual relations, which we do not really want to see that in our region. We believe in dialogue, we believe in engagement, we believe in advancing our accession process, and we can do this through diplomatic means, negotiations, and dialogue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'm not an efficient moderator since we are way behind our schedule. Please stay with us for the Q&A session a little bit later. Now I'm inviting Minister Cristian Diaconescu to address.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. I'm very happy from many perspectives that I have the opportunity to not only to attend this meeting, but also to have a discussion because, well, if my recollection is correct, some interesting substantive parts of our history in our bilateral relations, I was happy enough and I was lucky enough to be part of. So from this point of view, I can tell you from the very beginning that Turkey, during the history of our accession and integration process in NATO, was one of the best partners we had. To tell you openly, practically, differences of opinion between Romania and Turkey were solved quickly, and the common and general attitude of Turkey in being supportive for Romania was one of the most significant signals of cooperation in the region for the sake of stability and security. And I hope also that in the future, in the process of Turkey's integration in the European Union, this attitude will be enhanced and will be continued. Secondly, I remember, because you discussed at length about the strategic partnership between our countries, I remember my meeting with former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmet Davutoğlu. The idea was launched in 2009 during our meeting, and suddenly, in that moment, we organized a meeting with His Excellency President Erdogan and the Prime Minister in that moment, and we put on scrutiny this idea of having a strategic partnership. In that moment, Romania was full-fledged member of the European Union since 2007. I can tell you very frankly that we didn't receive from the European Union states any negative signals with regard to this bilateral intention. So it worked quite good, but also I can tell you that in that period of time, you know, when you started political discussion about a strategic partnership which is to be generated, to be set up. It is a process of screening what is doing in the ministries of foreign affairs in both countries with regard pro and cons, with regard what is good and what didn't work very well in the bilateral relation as a whole. And I can tell you that at the end of 2011, when the strategic partnership was signed, practically both institutions in both countries realized that they don't have any significant problems in the past, in the present, and without speaking, without speaking for the future. So from this point of view, I can tell you that, at least from a general perspective, our bilateral relation was a very smooth one. And I'm very happy to say this because, as you know, we are living in a very complicated region. Around the Black Sea, there are common threats from time to time, which became, and still they are, the normal reality in the region. After a period of tensions, I understood that in Brussels, Minister Çavuşoğlu attended a meeting. They discussed the future of Turkey-European Union relations. Together with President Erdogan, they both stated that, and allow me to quote, 2021 is the year to set things right with the European Union. Well, many in Europe are attentive to this development. Yes, there are some states in the European Union which are looking from a quite negative perspective with regard to the current state of democracy, and they are reserved when they are speaking about the rule of law in Turkey. It is something which all of us, we know. On the other hand, I think that while welcoming the intention to improve the bilateral relations and the overall atmosphere between European Union and Turkey, also the Europeans should get to work. Should get to work on long neglected task of defining its common policy towards Turkey. It's not only about Turkey, it's also about European Union when we are speaking about the future of our relations. Yes, at least from my humble opinion, also Washington may play a helpful role, but the real strategic thinking will have to take place in Europe, Brussels and elsewhere. For the time being, the European Union states still have no real consensus on a common foreign policy, on a common foreign policy making. For all of them, practically the talk of strategic autonomy, sovereignty, and policy, and speaking the language of power, as High Representative Borrell has said. Looking to these ideas, practically we see that Europe is not united around any particular line. Not only when we are speaking about Turkey. Practically, we are still confronting, after many, many years, different approaches and difficulties around the design and the implementation of the common foreign and security policy. And all these problems practically are sitting around the table in the discussions on relations with Turkey. Turkey poses a key test for the European Union. There are some pillars in this test which are to be considered, meaning the situation of an accession country, the position and the to-do list for a candidate, neighborhood relations, strategic ally, migration management, counterterrorism. So from this point of view, all these issues should be considered very attentively from the technical point of view, from the political point of view, and why not from the wishful thinking point of view, in order to achieve something. And we are very interested as a country, Romania, I mean, to have a positive outcome in this process as soon as possible. In response to the NATO establishment, a bilateral military deconfliction mechanism, as I know, was set up between Greece and Turkey. And the two agreed, practically they agreed to resume exploratory talks over territorial claims in the Eastern Mediterranean. Allow me, please, if it would be okay with you, to answer or to make a point of clarification. I heard what Mr. Çavuşoğlu just said about a meeting with regard to the economic exploitation of the Black Sea, and he was expecting all the countries in the region to take part. It might be a very good idea, maybe some more details. It will be good to hear from this point of view. I also think that the Americans can play a very relevant role. Practically, also with regard to Turkey, if I'm looking to what the European Council has said in December 2020, the Europeans are looking to coordinate with the Americans on matters relating to Turkey and the situation in the Eastern Mediterranean. That might be also a good starting point. It is extremely important to look in the details with regard to this process, but taking into account that it is a going-on process of reassessment of the transatlantic relations, I think also that it will be for the benefit of our endeavor. Also, in the process of Turkey's integration in the European Union, to have the Americans on board in a way or another. So that might be some issues, some ideas to address. I can tell you that also, because it was mentioned here, BISEC can be a very useful and interesting vehicle, instrumental for development of the necessary level of confidence, taking into account that the Black Sea region practically surrounded by European Union and NATO countries without being European Union members, countries in the process of going to the European Union, or countries who are rejecting European Union and NATO. So this complex vicinity, proximity of the Black Sea also should be encouraged in different form of regional cooperation in order to streamline the necessary approaches and general consent of very significant issues. It is workable. Also, I used to be Deputy Secretary General of this organization, and I can tell you from inside that all the member states taking part in this regional exercise, they succeeded from time to time, not very frequently to be clear, they succeeded from time to time to put on the table certain kind of agreements and decisions which might be considered as surprises, taking into account some problems in the past, some negative issues which were pending in the bilateral relations. So also BISEC is a workable institution, and it can be used in a very interesting way, including for the Turkey's process of being integrated in the European Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Diaconescu, for this pragmatic and full of insights presentation. I'm now moving to our last panelist, our colleague from SETA, Professor Talha Köse. You have the floor.
Thank you. Okay. So it's a great honor and pleasure to be here and contribute to Turkish-Romanian friendship and strategic partnership. So we are hoping to expand the pillars of strategic cooperation between Turkey and Romania. So at its stand here, I think the priority now should be in the direction of incorporation of NGOs, academia, think tank community, media, arts and culture sectors to this strategic partnership. So it needs to be extended further. So as a part of academia and think tank community, I would be more than welcome to join, contribute to this relationship. And I would also encourage my friends in academia and think tank sector to contribute more to this relationship. So of course, now our panel is related to EU. And what role can Romania play in Turkey's relations with the EU as well? I think it's Romania has a significant role with its positive stance towards Turkey's EU membership, and this role has always been appreciated in Ankara. So this is considered as a sincere commitment of Romania to pursue EU's open door policy, and Romania has openly and strongly supported Turkey's membership and opening of the new chapters in relations with the EU. So, and also Turkey was, as mentioned, was supportive of Romania's accession to NATO. So, and the coordination and strong ties has been coordinated in multilateral platforms, including BISEC, NATO, and EU. I think those ties are significant in strengthening the relationships. Your president expressed strong support for President Klaus Iohannis for Turkey's EU membership and qualifying the strategic partnership between two countries. So more importantly, at the popular level as well, there is quite positive attitude towards Turkey in Romania. There was no major differences among the Romanian people's views with these political leaders in Turkey's membership. So this was also demonstrated in Eurobarometer surveys. So there's a positive attitude towards Turkey's membership. So I think this people-to-people dialogue is also facilitating the coordination between Romania and Turkey. And as mentioned in the economic level, Romania is a significant partner for Turkey, and Turkey is Romania's one of the largest trading partners outside of the EU. So geographical proximity, cultural ties facilitates this, and it is expected that this will come to the level of 10 billion euros soon. And interestingly, more than 15,000 investors, business people also contributed to this economic activity, which also shows that, so in addition to the big business, some medium-level business in Turkey is also interested in strengthening economic ties with Romania. This is also a promising thing because they have larger connection with the communities, especially the medium business. So, of course, these are positive sides that may strengthen the ties, and there are also certain challenges that we are facing. So, the recent, defense and security cooperation, of course, Black Sea security is a shared concern for both Romania and Turkey. And the recent escalation in the Donbas region is a significant challenge for both countries. So both Turkey and Romania do not want an armed confrontation in Ukraine, and they are against the annexation of Crimea. And more stable relations with Russia is also interest of with Turkey and Romania. And there are also risks of frozen conflicts. I think they can get out of the control. So joint security mechanisms are important to prevent frozen conflicts. And we have seen that the frozen conflict can eventually turn into another potential conflict hotspots. That's why I think this early warning and broader cooperation are important to deter those security challenges. And of course, NATO framework is important, but beyond the NATO, I think, especially in the Black Sea region, there should be deeper consultation on those issues. So there are ongoing projects like trilateral meetings, but I think it is an era of uncertainty. There should be more urgent consultation in these matters. And also exploration and exploitation of hydrocarbon resources in the Black Sea region is an important. Turkey recently has some capacity, especially in exploration, and also working on LNG ships. I think in the future, Turkey will also have a significant capacity in exploitation and turning into LNG. So these are some significant issues and potential for cooperation. So one key uncertainty, I think, for Turkey is to defining the direction of relations with EU. I think Romania can play important role in setting the relationships. So one thing that is obstacle to strengthening relations with EU is, I think there is uncertainty where EU wants to situate Turkey. Of course, Turkey's strategic objective is to be part of the joint EU. And due to Turkey's population, cultural identity related differences, and geopolitical relations, some actors within the EU resist this idea. So they sometimes directly demonstrate this. They sometimes also indirectly use some, proxy debates. But I think this uncertainty is a problem for Turkey. So, keeping Turkey outside of the EU framework, especially in terms of high-level meetings, high-level discussions, debates, as our ambassador mentioned, a significant problem for Turkey, and Turkey doesn't really face EU solidarity in certain issues, especially the security challenges, some other challenges. I think even this lack of solidarity, lack of high-level coordination is a big problem. So, of course, I'm not mentioning just the membership, but at least coordination at that level is important. And of course, Turkey's economic potential, military defense capabilities, geopolitical relations, influence in MENA, Black Sea, Caucasus, and Southeast Europe, and increasing activism in Africa is considered as a challenge for some countries. They see Turkey as a competitor. However, I think this is also a significant asset for EU. So Turkey's increasing influence in those regions are also related to cultural and economic relations, but some countries feel challenged in this Turkey's geopolitical activism. Of course, one of the reasons that facilitated this geopolitical activism is related to Turkey's sideline position in the last decade. So in order to incorporate and diversify its relations, Turkey is also expanding to other regions with its economic relations. So I think European Union should consider Turkey's activism in other regions as an asset and potential for cooperation rather than a challenge. We have seen that Turkey played an important role in Libya to bring it to diplomatic process, and in Ukraine, Turkey is also playing a significant role. And in sub-Saharan Africa, Turkey also contributed to security of Somalia and other processes. I think Turkey's activism is considered as a challenge by some actors. For the membership, there are some limitations, unfortunately, and the second framework may be a strategic partnership with Turkey-EU relations. So, of course, Turkey has been NATO member since 1952 and signatory of Council of Europe since 1949. So, of course, Turkey considers itself as a strategic partner of the Western Alliance, and which has the second largest army within the NATO. So, for Turkey, this means that maintenance of the current, just keeping strategic partnership also means the maintenance of the current status quo. So maybe there may be some improvements in defense cooperation and efforts to fight against terrorism, but Turkey has already developed a more strong strategic partnership with selected group of countries. So, yes, we sidelined the membership, full membership, and we talk about the strategic partnership, but strategic partnership also has some limits, especially in the matters of critical concern for Turkey, fighting against terrorism, migration, and some other issues. So Turkey already developed some deeper level strategic partnership with countries like Azerbaijan, Qatar, Pakistan, Libya, and Ukraine. And those countries are Turkey's strategic partners besides NATO. I think this is also a significant asset. But, even at that level of strategic partnership, there is uncertainty, and it is quite a void category. It's becoming void category for Turkey. And the third option definitely is situating Turkey as part of the neighborhood policy. Which this perspective is weaker, provides weaker opportunities for Turkey. So it is, a definition sidelines Turkey from strategical calculations and keeping Turkey out. I think these, the confusions within EU, where to situate Turkey, how to engage Turkey in the long, medium and long term is a significant problem for Turkey, because Turkish decision makers, when they are making long-term, medium-term plans, they don't see how to situate EU. So, of course, this is a challenging issue. There are expectations. There are even conditions for conditions. So we see the chain of conditions for everything, but we don't see the promising, light at the end of the tunnel. So under the conditions of, fast-changing world, the geopolitics, this is really disappointing for Turkish people, decision makers, and all the people. So the interest in EU membership has declined in Turkey. We don't see, significant. So, of course, as SETA Brussels office, our main task is to improve these ties and increase the interest for EU membership, increase the strengthen the relations with EU. But we can clearly see that there's a declining interest in EU. We have to see, and EU is not. Yes, our politicians, states may see EU membership as strategic priority, but not everybody is, thinking in this way. So, one thing that really Romania can play is that, keeping the support for Turkey's membership, participating to interparliamentary meetings, and also bringing relations with regard to Turkey in those platforms. And of course, there is another significant issue which we need to mention is some countries, with member countries, use their problems with Turkey, use EU as a platform to maximize their benefits. I think that's also a problem. I think we have to come up with a better plan in this area to emphasize, highlight the shared points, and keep limits on particular countries' use of their membership as a privilege. So we are hopeful to strengthen the strategic cooperation, and also expecting this cooperation to expand to other areas, other pillars. I think it will get even stronger with the participation of other actors. And also we think that Romania has a lot of resources, potential to also contribute to Turkey's, better relations with EU. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Professor Koze. Thank you for realizing such a comprehensive radiography in such a short time. Well, it's time for our Q&A session, which is more compressed than I hoped for. So I think we have time for just a couple of questions. Who wants to start? Alexandru, please. Who is you addressing the question to?
To Madam Ambassador.
Okay, Madam Ambassador, I hope you are with us. You have a question from the audience. Please, Alexandru.
On behalf of the Center for Conflict Prevention and Early Warning, my question goes to Madam Ambassador. It's been said that in times of great challenges, great opportunities emerge. In terms of economic downfalls, the innovation of new technologies and the whole set of transformation brought by this pandemic, do you see a window of opportunity for a joint cooperation in order to avoid future issues and disruptions like the ones we encountered this last year?
Ambassador, you managed to get the question? Alexandru, please repeat with your microphone closer.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please, please. Okay, he will be repeating the question, please.
I was saying that in terms of economic downfalls, the innovation of new technologies and the whole set of transformations brought by this pandemic, do you see a window of opportunity for a joint cooperation in order to avoid future issues and disruptions like the ones we encountered this last year?
Okay. Thank you, Alexandru. We are not hearing you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, we're okay now. Please resume.
If I'm not wrong, the question was about whether there is the possibility to tap the potential in terms of trade and economy or technology in those areas. Am I right?
Yes, it is about if this pandemic, which is a challenge, is bringing also some opportunities in this area that you mentioned, okay?
Okay.
It's as short as possible.
Definitely. I mean, personally, I believe that despite all the negative aspects, despite its a calamity for the human race, it also brought some opportunities. In the post-pandemic period, as the current trade, transport and supply chains go through restructuring, the importance of Turkey-EU trade relations, economic relations, or its cooperation in terms of technology, research and development in those areas gains more importance, I think. The need is there, it's obvious. Turkey can play an important role in regionalization of value chains for the EU. I mean, geographically, economically, demographically, historically, culturally, in many aspects, Turkey is the closest country to the EU. And some call it there is an interdependent kind of relationship between Turkey and the EU, but I call it a symbiotic kind of relationship. There is a symbiotic relation between Turkey and the EU. We need each other, we depend on each other, and together we are stronger. And the young generations in Turkey, they all look for European values. They want to go abroad to study, to continue their studies, especially in Europe. The Erasmus numbers also show that to us. Definitely, I think in the post-pandemic period, there will be, this enthusiasm would be much more triggered.
Okay. Thank you very much. There is time for one short question. Okay, please, Professor Kifu.
Thank you very much. We've heard some positions, some offers, some scenarios, even some grievances from our Turkish part, and I would ask Mrs. Secretary, maybe you have a reply, or you can put it in the European framework in such a way that we can have the boundaries and the limits and the capacity for us to move forward. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, there are different scenarios. We heard different versions, and one can say that, well, it was not obvious from the outset how complex the situation is and how complex those relations are. What is true, and I heard the Professor Koses saying this, is that perhaps we should be much more courageous at the EU level in order to have this strategic discussion about Turkey and how to feature out those relations in such a difficult, volatile international context, in such a moment where we do have good perspectives on the table, and we should all be aware of this. Not only our Turkish friends, but also at the EU level, that perhaps it's a breakthrough that we can capitalize on. Well, on the other side, it's difficult to prejudge at this point. I think we have to wait a bit to. I wouldn't say I heard to Madam Ambassador. I heard Madam Ambassador saying that it's a sort of conditionality on the EU side. Well, one can have this sort of readings as well, but I would be much more inclined in saying that it's a process where we really need to see a sustained effort and to see that we are constructively engaging each other. And when we will be heading towards a much more round and consolidated efforts in these regards, we can pass to the next level and see how to define and how to settle those relations from now on.
Thank you very much. Our time is up. I thank to all our panelists for their contribution. It was a very insightful panel, a lot of food for thought, I would say, and I think we even managed to touch upon some important and even sensitive issues. I present my apologies to the next panelists for entering really deep in their territory. I only hope that the moderator, Alina and I, is not a vengeful person. So, thank you once again for all your contribution, and I give the floor to the next panel. Thank you.
where we are going to explore a little bit the relation, the strategic partnership between Romania and Turkey when it comes to their membership in NATO. We are on a little bit of delay. There is another event happening in the same room after us, so I'm going to be very strict on time. Each of the speakers has about 10 minutes to do the remarks, and then I will take 2 questions, one from the floor and one from the WebEx platform. Without further ado, I will start with the first speaker, Irina Zidaru, who is Director General for Strategic Affairs at the Romanian MFA. Irina, I will enforce the 10-minute rule, but I know you'll stick with it. So go ahead.
Professor Meshe, excuse me. Like this. So we are starting with the microphone on this time. Distinguished audience, Professor Kifu, Alina Inaye, and Mr. Meshe, thank you very much for organizing this important event in the context of the anniversary of the 10 years, the first decade, actually, of the Romanian-Turkish strategic partnership. This event is, from my point of view, 2 times significant. First of all, because it is a coincidence with the visit of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Turkish Republic to Romania, who will be attending tomorrow the Trilateral Romania, Poland, and Turkey. And from the second point of view, on the significance of this event, I would like to say that it is for the second day in a row when SETA is attending an event organized by a think tank in Romania. Yesterday we have had another one. The context, it is extremely interesting. As I have mentioned, this first decade of the Romanian-Turkish strategic partnership, from the point of view of the thematical domain I'm in charge of in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to me, Romania's journey in NATO started in 2004 at the Istanbul summit. Also, we have been invited to join NATO 2 days before at the Prague summit. We have been participating in full swing as a fully fledged member of the alliance at the Istanbul summit. I'm now seeing Ambassador Gülin Dinç, which I'm welcoming to our session today. And before going to the substance of the issue, I would like to mention, getting just back to the events of in the early 2000 years, that there are 10 years of consistent effort of my country in order to join NATO, and throughout this difficult span of time, Turkey has been with us, supporting us. And I would like here to extend my appreciation to the efforts generation of Romanian and Turkish diplomats made, to the consistent activity of the Romanian ambassadors to Ankara, and to the Turkish ambassadors to Bucharest, and of course to our colleagues in Brussels. Back to our days. Romania and Turkey are full-fledged members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and this status brings additional substance to our strategic partnership and gives impetus for closer dialogue and cooperation in the area of security policies. Together, we are committed to continuously build a stronger NATO. The security of this space, from the Baltic Strait to the Black Sea, and which we very well know as an area of particular interest for Romania and Turkey as well. It is key for the security of Europe, for the security of the Balkans as well, and across the Atlantic. Our cooperation is key for the united allied approach of the Eastern NATO flank. The Turkish participation to the tailored forward presence is important, and it is telling to the commitment Ankara shows in its contributions for the defense of deterrence posture of NATO. I would like just to mention that Ankara's Turkey's participation to the force structures in Romania and the multinational commandments is consistent, and Romania reciprocates in what the Turkish international presence is concerned. We have participating with a quite equal number of militaries in the position of the land component of the land headquarters and at the Rapid Reaction Force and the Center of Excellence of NATO for Counter-Terrorism, which is hosted by Turkey. From Romania's point of view, the essence of the collaboration of Romania and Turkey in NATO is our commitment to contribute to a coherent and effective approach of the alliance on the following issues. Consolidation of the defense and deterrence posture on the eastern flank, the Black Sea included here, engaging for the preparation for the 2021 summit, including on the political dimension of NATO, and backing the NATO 2030 strategic reflection process dedicated to the new strategic concept of the alliance. Today, as I have just mentioned, our ministers had substantial good talks during the meetings they have had a few hours ago, and they went through many topics which constitute the priorities of our bilateral cooperation. We are confident that the meeting ministers Aurescu and Çavuşoğlu, just concluded, will further strengthen the collaboration and will intensify the cooperation and coordination between Romania and Turkey within the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The strategic partnership between Romania and Turkey was launched on a solid foundation of collaboration, mutual trust, and it is just a decade young. We bring to the alliance knowledge and expertise. We have close consultation on a whole array of issues, and this further strengthens our links. In facing challenges or threats, our cooperation in the framework of the strategic partnership, sealed of as NATO allies, plays a key part for the security of the entire region. So with that being said, I think I should pass the mic to some other speaker.
Thank you. That was extremely brief. Thank you very much for staying on time. Yes, please pass. We'll virtually pass the microphone to Ambassador Gülin Dinç, Director General for International Security and Transatlantic Affairs from Turkey, who's joining us through VTS. Ambassador? You have to unmute your mic so we can actually hear you.
It is unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Hello, good afternoon to everybody. It's a real pleasure to be with you this afternoon, particularly as we are marking the 10th anniversary of our strategic cooperation. Thank you very much to Irina as well for the warm words about the cooperation between our two ministries and our colleagues, and in preparation of this week's event as well. I really want to thank you for all the help and the assistance you have given us. The strategic partnership between our two countries is very important, of course, but this is only one part of the picture. But if we look at the larger picture, we have to see that we became partners almost 2 decades ago. Once in different camps during the Cold War, Turkey and Romania began walking in lockstep once Romania joined NATO. And since then, we are not only friends and neighbors, but also allies. So let's look at Turkish-Romanian cooperation from a NATO angle. Turkey and Romania share the same geography. Our vision of security and defense are very similar. This strategic vision in unison brings an inevitable responsibility, which is one of solidarity. This is one of the virtues of our partnership that make it sustainable. Our joint contributions to NATO's deterrence and defense posture are significant. Afghanistan is only one of these examples. Both from Turkey and Romania, there are approximately 600 soldiers from each side that have been serving shoulder to shoulder in this very important mission of the alliance. And Turkey is also the lead nation for the Very High Readiness Task Force in 2021. As such, a mechanized infantry brigade will be deployed to Romania next month. This is a very strong message to our own people, to the international community, and also our adversaries. Obviously, this is the only one example. We have similar approaches on a number of other topics on NATO's agenda. Such areas that readily come to mind are NATO's open door policy, ballistic missile defense, defense policy and planning, as well as operations and missions. What ties us most in NATO, most probably, is our common home, namely the Black Sea region. Black Sea, to us, is more than a maritime concern. In fact, NATO's deterrence and defense efforts are mostly on land and in the air. Naturally, the Montreux Convention is commendable in this regard. There are some who attempt to denigrate the convention because it's a bit old, to be exact 85 years old. But the Washington Treaty is not much younger. We should judge the legal frameworks because of their merit, not their age. I want also to say that deterrence and defense are not equal to over-militarization. By the same token, more aircraft, more vessels, or more tanks do not always mean more security. Smart defense was a buzzword at NATO about a decade ago. In a certain sense, it still makes sense. Another catchword that we mostly come across in NATO documents, not least summit communiques, is meaningful dialogue. It denotes direct and indirect efforts to make sure our messages get across. We believe we must talk to each other, not past each other. The littoral states of the Black Sea region must address their issues in a spirit of regional ownership. If we don't own our turf, someone else may wish to. And this is what we try to do with Romania. We believe we must promote multilateral regional cooperation in the Black Sea. Initiatives of the EU, NATO, and other organizations can only complement our regional cooperation. In the same vein, we would also like to see the Black Sea economic cooperation to flourish. The trilateral mechanism that our ministers so happily contribute to comes at a particular time when we begin preparing for the next NATO summit. This summit will be taking place at a very critical juncture for NATO. It will set the pace for NATO in the decade ahead. In the context of NATO 2030 process, the alliance is yet again transforming itself to adapt to new realities. As two allies sharing the same geography as well as a similar vision for the future of our alliance, it's a valuable opportunity for our ministers to exchange views. As long as Turkey and Romania aspire to stand side by side and lead by example when it comes to cooperation, our strategic partnership, we believe, will only flourish. If we continue looking together at a common future through the prism of good neighborliness, collective strength, and alliance solidarity, Turkish-Romanian partnership is bound to be further solidified. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, both for brevity and for your insightful comments. We'll move on to the next speaker, this time a Romanian speaker again, Iulian Chifu, Professor, President of the Center for Conflict Prevention and Early Warning, and former Presidential Advisor. Iulian, please follow the example of the other two speakers. And
I thought that you are going to say that. Okay, so I just squeeze a little bit my presentation, and I will try at least to touch upon the most important point that I feel that should be in such an agenda related to our mutual strategic partnership, but also the fact that we are allies inside NATO. So I believe that we have to pinpoint on the fact that the global context has changed even after the NATO 2030 assessment, and in view of our future strategic concept that is supposed to be launched at the next summit, I think that it's very important to see the new lines and the new reassessment that the Biden US administration is offering to us, with the biggest lines that are reinforcing the transatlantic relationship, and I think it's a very good thing for going on. NATO 2030 actually gives us the biggest part of the lines, telling us the evolution and the NATO role and the future of NATO. At the same time, preparing for the future concept, we also have the inputs coming from the new administration wishes and structure and cohesion, the multilateral cohesion of the democracies, trying to achieve a coherent role in order to have the rules-based world imposed, and also to look at the new rules in the fields where we have some holes, like artificial intelligence, cyber defense, in some other fields where this type of general regulation is missing. And the third, last but not least, for sure, for us at least, Black Sea per se and the wider Black Sea region as a strategic concept, we have also to revisit it. It's our first interest in our strategic partnership to look at this evolution, what's happened in our backyards, what happened in our neighborhood, and for sure we need to have conversation and have consultations and realize how we are positioning ourselves together on those evolutions, either be it Russia's position, either be it Chinese presence in our wider Black Sea region, either having some other members like Ukraine and Georgia aspirating, and for sure tomorrow's meeting is going to play an important role, the trilateral meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine and Georgia. Now, I think that two are the points that are guiding at least Romania's position. The first one is, and it's not only for Romania, it's for Central Eastern Europe at the same time, Americans on board. And a complementary one, or if you want, the second one is aiming at looking very attentively on the NATO-EU relation. I'm very happy that the previous panel has touched upon some of the blockages or limitations that such relation, that the NATO-EU relation has. And for me, it's very important to look at the 9th of May 2017 Rome Declaration, who actually stated the framework, and also the signing of the bilateral NATO-EU declaration in Warsaw at the NATO summit. I think that these would be the guidelines for the development of any NATO-EU relation, with the pillar that NATO represents, with the fact that still we have seen the response of Sec General Stoltenberg in Munich conference related to the substance and the means and the heaviness, if you want, of the NATO and the countries out of the EU to the security and defense of the European Union. For the NATO 2030, I will just quote 3 points. For sure, we are looking at the NATO political purpose and trying to energize this, but also actually emphasizing the cohesion, the consultations, the cooperation, the fact that we need this political cohesion and unity. And for sure in that area, a very important role is played by, I would say, an abstention from very harsh statements. We've seen some, concerns, maybe grievances, happening before the London summit, but we also are welcoming the final declaration, who actually has been signed by all the member states who are recognizing the role, the preeminence of NATO in the security of Europe. The second point is about the unity. Unity of the alliance is not only a fact that we can state, but it also includes, or it also has to have in the forefront the inclusiveness. And in some of the files that we have on the table, namely Eastern Mediterranean, why not some other cases, inclusiveness could be a good way out and a good way to settle the position. And my third point is also a recommendation. Also, I would say that in those days we are talking more and more about technological security, the need of having status and rules and norms for that part of the spectrum that hasn't been on the scrutiny and on the table because we didn't have this evolution. And I think in that area as well, Romania and Turkey as ally inside NATO could move forward. We've heard the Ministers of Foreign Affairs here, the first panel, I'm very happy that artificial intelligence, cyber, IT are part of the agenda, and there's another place where I think that we can build a lot as allies in NATO, as strategic partners. Thank you very much. I think that I'm in due time. Thank you.
You're very much on time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Julian, especially for expanding the concept of security to current days, or to what are the main issues in the current days. The last speaker of today, really, but not the least important, obviously, Zafer Meshe, coordinator of CITA in Berlin. Zafer, please go ahead and also be mindful of the time.
Thank you.
It doesn't work, I think, because there is no green light.
It will be.
You don't
This one.
the green light.
You don't.
It's good.
Well, I need also to be obliged to squeeze my contribution. So I will focus on a very essential one, two issues. But let me start with the explanation of some similarities of Romania and Turkey within the NATO. So first of all, and there is no doubt, within the NATO, Turkey and Romania are crucial member states along the southeastern flank of the alliance. Once in competing adverse blocks in our partnership within NATO. Just a reminder, I mean, you mentioned as well that after Prague Summit 2002, 2004, along with 6 other countries, Romania became a member of the NATO. Turkey is old school in that sense. 52, it was the first wave together with Greece. Then we had smaller waves, and I think it was the 4th wave with Romania and the other countries. I have to say that what my perception is from also my discussions with members of NATO or staff, etc., that especially Romania's commitment to NATO is highly appreciated by the vast majority of NATO member states. Well, both member states have similarities when it comes to provide security and further added value to the alliance, as there are, they contribute in terms of defense spending around 2%, Turkey a little bit less, Romania a little bit more. And both countries, our most important NATO role is as a stronghold on the eastern flank, but they make also significant contributions to other NATO missions as well. Afghanistan, Iraq, Bosnia, Kosovo, Libya, Georgia now. Yesterday you mentioned it. What is not to be underestimated is that both countries are seeking ways to bolster collective defense in and around the respective regions, especially in the Black Sea, and to push for action in the region and truly make improvements in Eastern European security in terms of interoperability and in terms of shifting the level of the NATO standard within the countries when it comes to their defense structure, to bring up it to NATO level. And as a result, both countries are essential to the future of NATO because of the demonstration of a strong commitment to NATO. Well, you mentioned as well, Shifu, the crisis in the international system, accelerated, of course, by China's rising as a superpower and US reaction in the context of global competition, withdraw partially from Europe and the Middle East, by shifting its focus towards the Pacific region, created uncertainties and power vacuum. And Russia took advantage of the situation by further expansionism in the Middle East, North Africa, and neighboring countries nowadays. But Russian expansionism started long before in its near abroad. And along with it military doctrine, foreign policy concept from 2000 it defined itself as a great power and declared that it would intervene in the ongoing conflicts and tensions in the region, would continue to act as a gendarmerie, and thus its zone of influence would not only cover the Black Sea but also the neighboring periphery. We witness this in a very dramatic way these days. And I don't want to go into the details of the doctrine and what impact it will have in the region, but I think we are at a very important stage of the crisis between Ukraine and Russia, and especially that should be my question to the ministers when you cut the because of the. I mean, the minister, I saw it, don't worry. So, but I think I will just touch upon the trilateral initiative of Poland and Romania and Turkey. First of all, with the enlargement of the NATO to these 7 countries, it strengthened its geostrategic mindset in the region, which differs, there is a huge gap between the European Union and the NATO, because they are different organizations. You cannot compare them, of course. But in terms of strategic mindset, the NATO is more capable and aware of the circumstances and can create visions and programs and etc. in order to cope with these challenges. In NATO, in the European Union, we have a common foreign security policy, but we have a bloc building within the Europe. We see it in Libya, in Syria, in the Karabakh conflict, everywhere. So what I'm trying to say is that with the we could, I mean, I want to give some smart recommendations maybe for the escalation, since the escalation are out of sight. It seems that new round of sanctions and reciprocal sanctions and diplomatic expulsions by exchanging of angry rhetorics will not help Ukraine. But will most probably trigger fairly rapid cycle of hopefully only political escalation. I think we need to define a long-term, mid-term, long-term strategy for 3 Eastern Partnership countries. This trilateral initiative of Poland and Romania and Turkey we have to pick their 3 other countries, Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. We need something from these 3 countries, kind of a mentorship, a sponsorship for these 3 countries. What we see is, what I see, if I'm not correct, Turkey has closer ties to Georgia than Romania with Georgia or Poland with Georgia. We have Romania closer ties to Moldavia, and Poland is very close with Ukraine. So I think on these tracks we should create kind of dedicated sponsorships, mentorships to help them. We see it. We have a huge military cooperation in the area of defense, of course, between Poland and Ukraine. But we have now, the last years, since roughly 8, 7, 9, or 11 years, I don't know, Turkey has also strategic partnership with Ukraine on
Zafer, if you have about 1 minute to wrap up,
okay.
Please.
So I think with this, think global, act local, we should for the region, because these are the countries who know the dynamics and the order of the power play in the region better than outsiders, to have them on the front side, to help these countries in the long term. And apart from the conflict now, it helps only if there is a resilient long-term planned cooperation and integrate these Eastern partner countries into the NATO.
Thank you. Thank you for this plea for the three partner countries of NATO. We have time for one question. I have no question coming up on either chat or Q&A section on the WebEx. If there are any questions in the room, please go ahead and ask them. I mean, if there is one question in the room, because that's all we have time for. So I guess everything is clear. So the suggestion is that Irina closes, basically.
Thank you very much. I just want to underline the fact that both the strategic partnership between Romania and Turkey came at a very interesting moment and was built upon a mutual experience of close cooperation, both in political, diplomatic, and military fields. I'm just mentioning some issues, some fields which are relevant for NATO directly. But I would also want to say that the achievements which we can count after 10 years of strategic partnership are very promising for what lies ahead. Referring also briefly to the trilateral cooperation, which I gather it is very interesting for our colleague from CETA, and I believe from the audience as well. I would like to say that this started as an idea, as a way to gather together our fields of interest from Romania, Poland, and Turkey regarding the security issues, and to see how can we better use this interest of ours in order to have a stronger NATO, and in order to have the priorities of our states and our region better represented on the agenda of the North Atlantic Alliance. In a nutshell, I would say that not only the achievements of this collaboration, but also the series of events which are supported by the think tanks and participation from the academia, for us are an indicator of not only our success, I dare to say, but also as a promising way of collaboration from now on regarding these specific issues. I would like to thank once again Professor Kifu for organizing this event, Alina for accepting the moderation, and our guest from Berlin for joining us. And well, I believe we should see each other more often. Not least, I would like to commend once again our colleague from the Turkish MFA from Ankara, Ambassador Dinç, which has been very kind to join this event. So thank you very much once again, everybody.
Thank you, and good luck tomorrow. Looking forward to the statement and to the results of the trilateral, and with the consultations with Georgia and Ukraine. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening to us or being in the room, and have a good evening.